All right, let's talk some Husker football.
If you're anything like me, that Illinois game, well, it left me wondering what happened to all that early season magic, you know?
Yeah.
1 minute we're thinking Big Ten championship, and then the next minute, bam, overtime heartbreak. Again,
Yeah.
it's enough to make you superstitious, right? 8 overtime losses in a row.
Yeah.
And that's going all the way back to 2014.
Yeah. It's
Come on.
it's tough to stomach that.
But before we dive into this whole curse thing, let's unpack this week's deep dive. We're going behind the scenes with, well, he's a longtime Husker watcher, Tad Stryker. This guy, he's been covering Nebraska football for 40 years.
Wow.
40 years. So he's seen it all.
He's earned his stripes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And his latest piece for Husker Max, it really got me thinking. He calls it a market correction
Okay.
for Nebraska football.
Interesting.
What's fascinating about that phrase, at least to me, is that it suggests that we all got a little carried away with those first few wins. Like we were due for a dose of reality.
Yeah.
But it's more than just evening out the win-loss column.
Mm-hmm.
Stryker's digging into the DNA of this team.
Yeah.
And what this loss reveals about where we stand in this. You know, the brutal Big Ten landscape that we're in.
Yeah, you gotta be able to hang with the big dogs week in and week out.
Exactly.
It's
the gauntlet. And he's not just analyzing a game. He's dissecting a narrative. And trust me, this is where it gets really interesting.
I'm ready.
And Stryker really gets into the weeds on this one. He breaks down the Illinois game, almost quarter by quarter. But here's where his experience, it shines through.
Right.
He doesn't just describe what happened. He connects the dots. And I think that's...
He sees the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, remember that feeling in the fourth quarter when Illinois just seemed to wear down our defense?
Mm-hmm.
They ran for 100 yards in that quarter alone.
Yeah.
Stryker points out that that's not just about being out-muscled, though that's part of it. It's about adjustments, or in our case, the lack thereof.
Right. They made adjustments we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Illinois came in with a game plan, but they also adapted. When they saw what our defense was giving them,
Mm-hmm.
they found a weakness, and they exploited it. And to me, that speaks volumes. Not just about Illinois' coaching, but about how we respond to pressure in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
When the game's on the line,
Yeah.
you got to be able to dig deep and make those plays.
And speaking of pressure, how about those 2 measly tackles for loss the entire game? 2.
It's hard to win that way.
It's like our defensive line couldn't buy a sack if they were shopping at a bakery.
Oof. That's a tough one.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
A boxer who's just not landing any punches. You can have all the heart in the world, but if you can't disrupt the other team's rhythm, you're going to be on the ropes eventually.
Yeah, you're going to get worn down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this whole market correction idea really hits home.
Mm-hmm.
We look great against weaker opponents,
Yeah.
but against a team like Illinois, those cracks in the foundation, they become gaping holes.
Yeah, you need to be battle tested.
Yeah, those early games are good to kind of, figure out what you have.
Right.
Then when you come up against a real opponent, you really see what you're made of.
Okay, but let's not paint too bleak a picture here.
Okay.
Let's talk about Dylan Raiola. Stryker, like most of us, came away impressed with the freshman's poise. Under pressure,
Oh, yeah.
throwing for almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in that kind of environment. That's not rookie stuff.
No,
That's big time.
that's impressive.
And you knew there was a but coming.
Right.
That reliance on a freshman quarterback,
Yeah.
as exciting as he is, it might be telling us something else.
Oh, okay.
It makes you wonder, are we leaning so heavily on Raiola because the rest of the offense isn't quite where it needs to be?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. If
Is he having...
if he's having to carry the team,
Yeah.
that's not a recipe for success long term.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stryker calls out the offensive line struggles. And yeah, that missed field goal was rough.
Yeah.
But you tie it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And it paints a picture of a young quarterback who's doing everything he can, but maybe isn't getting enough support.
Right. He needs some help.
Yeah. This is where Coach Rule's post-game comments, they really resonated with me.
Oh, yeah.
Stryker quotes him. Well, he says, "The moment showed up, and we didn't make the plays you need to make to win the game."
Ouch. That's,
It's one thing to lose a close game, but to have your own coach say that you didn't step up when it mattered most,
right.
that's gotta sting.
Yeah, that's gotta light a fire, I would think.
But here's the thing, it's not just about one game, right?
Set.
It's about a pattern. Remember those 8 overtime losses since 2014?
Yeah, you said it. I mean,
It's not just bad luck.
it's a trend at that point.
It's a trend.
Yeah.
And Stryker dances around this issue a bit,
Okay.
but reading between the lines, I think he's hinting at something bigger.
I'm intrigued. Let's hear it.
It's that killer instinct, that ability to perform under pressure when the game is on the line.
Yeah.
And, that's what separates, to me, that's what separates the good teams from the great teams.
I agree.
Look, talent will only get you so far. At some point, you need that.
You need that.
That mental toughness, that grit
Mhm.
that refuses to let you lose.
That heart, that desire.
And that's what I'm left wondering about with this Husker team. Do they have that it factor? Can Coach Rule instill that winning mentality into this team?
Right.
Look, it's still early in the season.
It is early.
This team is young, and losses like this, as painful as they are,
Sure.
they can be valuable learning experiences.
Absolutely.
But there's a difference between learning from a loss and letting it define you.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And as we head into the heart of the Big Ten schedule,
Yeah.
that's the question I'm asking myself. Can this team develop that killer instinct when it matters most?
Yeah.
I don't have the answer, but it's definitely something to think about as you watch the rest of the season unfold.
Yeah.
Because those close games, those nail-biters, those are the moments that reveal a team's true character.
Well said. I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me.
Happy to do it. Go Huskers.
Go Huskers.